Welcome to Off the Court. It's a goal attack special, and earlier we caught up with Jo Harten. Well, we're here in Manchester after round 5 of the Netball Super League. Manchester's under the home side. They were dominant in their win, 75-44 over Surrey Storm. Sorry, Soph. I will introduce my two goal attacks. We've got Lois Pearson here, player of the match, which is why she's got her nice shiny medal on, and Sophie Drakeford-Lewis for Surrey Storm as well. Well, welcome to Off the Court. They're both very excited to be here. They weren't sure what they were going to talk about. So we're going to chat about their goal attack role to start off with. Firstly, Lois, an impressive performance today from a really dominant Thunder side.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a really tough game against Storm. They always bring it to us, a bit of a rematch of the third-fourth playoff. But yeah, happy we got to take the win.
Well, I want to get straight into the goal attack role. We've had lots of questions in as well, and I'm standing with two of my favourite goal attacks in the league at the moment. And so I'm going to come to you first. Sort of, how important is it now that the goal attack almost has everything? So it's not just the playmaking, it's the shooting, it's all the craft you can bring.
Yeah, I think it's super important. This game, it's so hard when the games are unpredictable, and as a goal attack, that's what you need to do. You need to make the games unpredictable for the defenders that you're playing up against, and you're the one that can do that. You can cause havoc in the circle, but then you can also cause havoc outside the circle. It's such a cool position to play because you do have that role where you can change the role that you're playing within the game, let alone game on game. So yeah, it's a really exciting position to play, and we're constantly evolving, developing it, and yeah, it looks very different depending on who's playing it as well.
Well, you're going to hear from Jo Harten later in the show, and she said something I really liked. She talked about the goal attack superpower. So when I asked her what a goal attack needs to have, she automatically went shooting. Today, I think you're at 87%, you're at 97%, missed one shot, really impressive. But it was the superpower she talked about, so whether that was speed, courtcraft, and I'm intrigued to know what you would call your superpower, Lois.
I think maybe just a bit of fitness, and I'll just keep running and running all through the game, just never stop.
And what about you, Soph?
I would say my ability to constantly re-offer my availability, but then also my defensive effort. I feel like something that not all attackers have, and something that I pride myself on.
Well, it's really interesting you talk about that work rate. I'll put it a bit more specific. These two are the highest centre pass receivers for their both sides, and that's quite interesting, right? Because usually it'd be the wing attacks, and I wanted to pick up on that. I talked to you in the player interview about your relationship with Nat Metcalf. How important is it for you to get first phase to open up Nat on a second?
I think we tried to mix it up and do a bit of both, but I think Nat is really strong on the second phase. She's so good at getting them deep balls. So I think for me to get that first phase, it's a lot more of a direct route to goal, going then into Nat and then straight into the circle.
And so I'm intrigued from you in terms of how you've developed that offload on the first phase, because it's all right getting the ball on the first, but you've had to really work hard on that driving pocket ball, like the driving second phase. Is that something you've focused on a lot over the years?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you can get driving deep second phase, it really opens up the one-on-one shooter, and obviously getting depth off second phase is kind of ideal location to be receiving second phase. So it requires a good delivery, but also requires the wing attack to be able to get onto the ends of those balls, and I've been fortunate enough to play with wing attacks that have been able to do that. So yeah, I think it's a great way to expose that one-on-one in the back, and when you've got someone like Pearson there where we want to keep it one-on-one, that's a great tactic to go by. But then you say we need to have that flexibility around changing up our game.
I want to talk about having the dominant shooters in the back. So both of you ended up playing with Peace and Van der Beer in the back, and they're both target shooters. What does that mean to your game in terms of how you can open up the circle? Because obviously they kind of block off certain bits, but it allows you to do different things.
Yeah, I think the role with a holding shooter is a lot more outside the circle, sweeping the front, driving the base, trying to pull the goalkeeper away to open up the shooter in the backspace.
I think what's important is that you're still going for ball. Is that key? Because I used to play goal attack not as well, and I would often be just drawing the space. But how important is it that you want to put the shot up?
Yeah, I think it gets a bit predictable if you just keep launching the ball into the shooter, and when you're playing really strong defenders like, say, Fumi, who will just drop into the circle, you do need to have a goal attack who's confident to put shots up and will just keep turning to post.
So if I want to touch on the mental capacity of that then, because you see it often when the crowd are going, shoot, put the ball up, but there's a difference between you actually going in with intent to score to go in to pull the space.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Lois said, you do play a different role, but in order to be successful, you need to have 2 threats at post, either to play yourself or to open up the one-on-one taller goal shooter. So yeah, you just need to keep attacking it. Like if you miss a few, you've still got a really dominant rebounder as well in a tall goal shooter. So yeah, you just have to keep attacking it. It can be hard at times because you are having to do quite a lot of work outside the circle, and sometimes you're getting quite big hits. But yeah, it's all part of the game, and yeah, you just have to sustain it for 60 minutes.
I want to talk about your temperament as well, because it's quite interesting. Both of you are very similar to me in terms of you just go about your business, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I watch someone like Helen Housby and she's doing a TikTok dance on the line. I'm not really seeing that.
No,
you
won't be.
No, I know. But it almost doesn't matter, right? There was a time when it was all the swishy goal attacks and stuff, and actually that isn't necessarily the case now. How important is it to be your sort of authentic self and be able to have that calmness around a team with both of you, really, with a load of superstars?
Yeah, I think everyone has their own personalities, and it's important to just stay true to that. You don't need to be anything else. I think there's room for all different personalities in netball, and I think that calmness is part of how I play.
How much are you enjoying doing this interview with me now, Lois? Because can I make you do a TikTok dance? Can Taylor McKevitt make you do a TikTok dance?
Even she can't.
This is going to be my aim for that. Sophie, I just want to talk about you then, because that's something, again, you've had that international experience as well, playing away with England, and that kind of temperament in a team that is full of different personalities, how you kind of almost find your way and find your style in that unit?
Yeah, I think what's so great, as Lois said, is like netball's a game for all, and like you can really bring your own authentic self onto the court. Like other goal attacks play completely different to me, and everyone brings something different, and I think that's so like. But I think it's also really important that you see what you can also bring and what your strengths are, and that you don't shy away from that, because it's not necessarily what other people on the court are doing and what's expected. It's also really important that you do what's good for you to get the best out of yourself. And I think, yeah, for me, it's working hard and keeping my head down and making sure I'm doing everything that I can for the team, and that's how I like to go about my business.
I just want to pick up a couple of bits on training. You talked about the fitness. How important is that part of your training regime? Like, how often are you either on the court or in the gym doing that part? Because the workload now of a goal attack is huge.
I think at Thunder we have quite a lot of fitness sessions thrown in there as well. So I do like to do my own stuff as well, just because I know that's one of my strengths and I want to keep on top of that.
And so?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Like, we have our on-court sessions as a squad, but the amount of work that goes in around those sessions on days when we're not as a team, a lot of fitness, a lot of running, a lot of power work as well, to make sure that we're explosive and we can move really quickly. So yeah, a lot of work goes into being able to sustain that for 60 minutes.
Can I just ask about the shooting as well? Do you add movement into your shooting regime, or is it just literally at the post?
Mine's just at the post, but probably should be moving as well.
I'd say I add in movement, because obviously it's a different kettle of fish being able to put a shot up after you've done like 20 movements and being able to set shots. And you also get that in training sessions as well when you're being hotly contested by your defenders. But yeah, so I think it's really important to just kind of do what you need to do to make sure that you're confident going onto that match court at the weekend.
Well, I've got a couple of questions from you guys at home. Thank you so much for sending questions in. One of them was about how you reset after you've missed a shot, and it's funny actually, because I've worked with lots of shooters that will tap their leg or do their hands or get a bum tap from somewhere else. Is there anything specific you do, or is it just get on with the job?
I think you've just got to get on with it and just keep being confident and keep turning to post. I think sometimes our centre quarters are quite good at noticing, like if you're feeling a bit shaky after you've missed a shot, they'll give you a bit more encouragement and a bit more high fives to keep you going.
Perfect. And so just for you, just that partnership with the goal shooter, how important is that relationship both on and off the court to really build that into the game?
Yeah, I think it's obviously really important. It's probably one of the most critical relationships that are on the court, because if you can't score goals on court, you're not going to be winning games, and you need to know how to get the best out of each other. And I think Pearson and I, we're constantly having conversations both in and around training, on the court, during matches, on the bus journeys, on the way up, just trying to find out what makes each other tick and just make sure that we know how to get the best out of each other on the court.
Perfect. Well, one question I want to know before we go is about your bow, right? Because I love this from a goal attack, the bow. Has that just always been there from the moment you started playing netball?
It started in my first Super League season. Yeah, and I feel like, it's part of me now. Whatever team I'm playing for, I need a different coloured bow, so yeah.
Well, listen, keep smashing it up on the court. It's been really, really good to watch you guys play across the season so far, and of course going into the rest of the season. They've been absolutely impressive with their goal attack moves. Hopefully that has answered lots of your questions as well. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
So I'm very excited about this one, although I hate saying this. I'm with ex-England Rose. I hate saying the ex bit, but current Giant Jo Harten. So good to see you, Jo. How's things?
Good, thanks, T. In the middle of pre-season over here. I'm in Ballarat, kind of in Victoria at the moment. We're away having it's called a Ballarat Blitz. We're playing 4 of the Suncorp Super Netball teams this weekend in prep for our comp starting in a month's time.
Well, we're going to get cracking about that. We're going to start talking about that because I know you've just played Mavericks recently, so we'll have a chat about that in a minute. I want to talk firstly about your last 18 months because it's probably been a bit of a roller coaster. I was looking back, there was the Commonwealth Games, which clearly wasn't the result that anybody wanted for England and for you guys in it. There was then the retirement from the Roses. There was the rehab of the knee. There was an MBE thrown in there where you met the King. There was trips home. There was trips back to Australia. And there's a pre-season. And I think so many people only see the finished article, see the bit where you win the shiny gold medal or you win the competition or everything's going well. And I thought you might touch on that roller coaster and how tough mentally that's been and how you've kind of pushed through all of that.
Yeah, actually, when you say some of that stuff there, it has been a bit of a roller coaster, 18 months. Was that 2023, 22? 22 was the Com Games. That's so long ago now. I think that was probably one of the hardest months of my career, finishing up with Giants when we missed out on the grand final of the SSN by a single goal. Having had a pretty good season in clubland, and then being selected for the Com Games back at home. There's all that kind of pressure of reigning champs and all of that stuff, and then obviously it's in Birmingham during COVID, and then heading into prep camp for Com Games. I think the first 4 or 5 days, wicked, absolutely fine. I was buzzing to be there, and then I just started getting a pain in my knee and my hamstring area, and then I was like, okay, this is is getting worse and worse, and basically playing essentially kind of injured through a Commonwealth Games when I didn't fully know what the extent of that injury was really challenging. And then coming out of that, having rest, and then trying to do a short rehab to get back into the England setup pre-Christmas 22, and then obviously kind of didn't get better essentially. And so I made the really tough call midway through the SSN season in 23 to retire and step away from the England team, because my brain's obviously there netball wise. I love the game still as well, but I knew I couldn't do the back-to-back, basically getting up to play Australia one day, New Zealand the next, Jamaica the next at World Cup. So I knew it was my time to step away, which was a really great decision for me. Super tough at the time. It feels a bit I don't know, compare it not wearing a coat when you're walking out in a winter storm, because you're just that is what I've always had. It's my protection almost. It's what I'm used to. But yeah, off the back of that, I've had some really cool experiences over the last, 6 months in the coaching space, which were, super interesting. But now I'm definitely back with my player hat on, back in Giants land.
Well, we're going to talk about the coaching in a little bit. We'll finish on that, but I think people kind of forget how intense and how big those decisions can be, because 1 minute you're in the limelight and you're just used to it. For the last 10 years, Jo Harten steps out in an England dress and then suddenly that's gone. I want to talk then about the Giants piece, because it wasn't the greatest year for you guys last year either. I think there was lots of injuries on and off, and I think it was a 6th finish, and it's not again what we've been used to with the Giants. How tough has it been to get up for another pre-season this year? Because I think that's what I found the hardest as I became an aging player. Another pre-season, another testing block. How hard has that been?
Pre-season is tough. There's no hiding away from hard work. There's no hiding away from your body essentially, and that's essentially what pre-season is all about. It's prepping your body and pushing it to absolute limit. So when you get out on court during a season, that things become easier, or you've experienced everything. So I was definitely in two minds about whether I should just throw the towel in completely. Super disappointed with how we left 2023. From a personal point of view, carrying an injury through a season is just tough. You want to put your best foot forward. You're trying to rehab. You're trying to get up. And, it's high performance sport. So definitely considered throwing the towel in. But there was something in me that kind of just said that I'm not done yet. Like I haven't given absolutely everything. And I love the game and I love playing the game. But also I love improving. So that was, I guess, the decision to carry on. And this pre-season's actually been quite refreshing. Like my body's feeling really good at the moment. My knee's feeling good, touch wood. And although it's been hard, I'm seeing results that I probably haven't seen. And stepping away from the international stage has allowed me to actually rest at points and then train and build my body back up without having to basically play netball for 12 months straight.
Yeah, and I think that is the landscape now of international netball, isn't it? I don't think people quite realise not only how physical tough it is, but mentally as well. They just don't get that break or that download ever, and because every game matters now as well. I've got a quick question on this. Is your training week similar to what it's always been? So, shooters go to the post 200 times a day. Like, do you still have to do that? I'm just intrigued because, like, as a wing attack, I probably didn't ping the ball around as much towards the back end of my career as I would have done at the front. Are you still doing that?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Probably more so now, actually, because I was, I was the captain of the side last year in Giants and wasn't happy with like our skill level essentially, and that doesn't just fall on me, that falls on the whole club and the whole team. So one of the things that I wanted to implement in Giants land this year was we do a weight session which we're in the gym for 90 minutes, 2 hours. In the middle of that block we're going to get hold of a ball, so our muscles are completely fatigued. We're actually going to do some skill work, catching, passing, decision making, but with the people that you're going to be doing that through the season with. So we implemented that in pre-season, which I think has been really good for our general skill level. And we've just signed a new assistant coach in Ned, and she's been taking the shooters for up to 3 sessions a week of shooting before the main court session. So we're pretty much on court when we get there for about 4 hours for a session now. And I feel like revitalized by it. Like, it's fun. Like, I love shooting, but actually trying to work on a craft at my age is great fun.
Yeah, I think that's sort of reinvention, isn't it? It's really important, whether that comes with new coaches or younger players or whatever that looks like. I mean, that was the reason I stopped shooting, FYI. That and the fact that I was very short in the circle and not very good at it. But that whole 200, like before the session, I mean, I don't think people underestimate how much those shooters add. Right, let's talk about the role of the goal attack then. So over in Oz, you've got squads of 10. And so this kind of dual role of playing goal shooter, goal attack is huge, right? You can afford maybe one target shooter, but the other two are going to have to cross over. I got asked the other day what my favourite type of goal attack was. I'm intrigued. What's yours? What kind of style are they?
For me, it would be a goal attack that shoots goals.
Yeah.
I love a goal attack, and like I've kind of put that almost on the top of my list of whoever I've wanted to play with in my career. Like you asked, like Pam Cookie, Helen Housby. I'm always, if I'm in goal shoot, I expect the goal attack to be going 50-50 shots, at least 40-60% of the shooting load, because then I feel like that gets the best out of a unit. So yeah, definitely someone that can shoot, just has that innate ability to turn to the post and threaten defenders. But I also think, you have to have a bit of, I don't know, that thing that's expected but unexpected, whether that be pace, whether that be a certain type of passing skill, or, just like manoeuvring in the circle. But yeah, for me, it's all about a goal attack that can actually work with another shooter, and to make the unit great.
I call it your superpower, whatever that is, whether it's the flair, whether it's the speed, whatever that court craft that we always used to hear about. So you talk about that sharing of the load, and I'm going to throw it out there that you and Housby, the H2 combination that we nicknamed it, pretty much develop that internationally? Because up till that point, we were target shooter base, and the goal attack had a role, but it wasn't, and you were expected to shoot, don't get me wrong, but it was never to the extent of what we saw. And I think in that 2018 amazing win at the Commonwealth Games, you saw sort of the exit, the end of career for someone like a Caitlin Bassett. That was her on her way out, and that sort of tall target shooter for Australia. And you suddenly saw what you and Helen and Nat actually can do. I think people forget in the semi-final against Jamaica, you won by 1 goal. Nat played goal attack. Like, Nat Metcalf came on and played goal attack, shot 11 goals. And I think that sharing of the load really began to happen then. Was that like a conscious thing? Was it a coaching thing from Tracy? Was it just something that you weren't going to be the target there? You were quite happy to play out goal attack, goal shooter, both of you. Like, how did that even develop?
I think it develops a bit more of a moving circle, and especially my kind of moving circle is more like a moving third. So I'm happy to leave the circle unattended. Like, Jay Fitz would hate me for saying that, but like, the circle can be unattended for about a minute when I'm playing. So I think, there's a bit more space there for the goal attack to roam. And then if you're roaming near the post, obviously you're going to get sighted by your feeders and put the ball away. But I think 2018 was quite special because we didn't really have a tall target. Obviously, I was like the tallest in the attack end. But like you say, Nat was playing there frequently. We had Kadeen there as well, who, was kind of in and out of goal shoot, goal attack. And it just worked for us. Like, the combination was great. And, putting like a wing attack specialist like Nat inside the circle, for me, like, it's really exciting because they know the spaces that shooters want. So where Nat would like to feed, a shooter, she can go and get the ball there herself. So things like that, I think, are really special. But I think when me and Helen are in there, like, there was a lot of skill on show, probably. Like, there was a lot of like, can we get the ball between these two defenders and make the defenders feel a bit rubbish? And that kind of, we got more confident as the years went by, and we were confident in each other's ability to back each other up, put the ball through the net for each other, but also set each other up.
Well, you say skill, Joey. I'm going to go back to the olden days when I still used to wear a red dress, and you were the youngster with Serena coming through, and all I used to think about was protect the face, because I never knew whether the ball was coming back to me, whether you were faking it, where you wanted it, whether Serena was going to lob it over her head. Like, it was a whole shift in this kind of flair play, which is exactly what England needed. And you two certainly were sort of the forefront and centre of that. I want to touch base then on Sophie Dwyer, because I keep an eye on this SSN, and I hadn't realised she was only sort of debuted in 2020, so she's still relatively young on that scene, has been pulled into the Aussie Diamonds, was outstanding in Nations Cup, 22 out of 25 in the final. But it's more about her court craft, because you talk about this superpower. Just how good is she on the ball, and how much is that accepted at Giants, that you are going to be allowed to play with that freedom, even if it comes at a cost sometimes?
Yeah, I think that's the balance when you're young. The cost sometimes does outweigh what you get back in that benefits. If you can put a really amazing cross-court long ball into a shooter as a goal attack, it's probably going to get gobbled up like in the next game, because keepers are looking out for you. But someone like Sophie, she just has, I guess, an air of confidence on the ball. She expects that when she gets the ball inside the circle, she's going to score a goal, which is kind of unheard of for a young player breaking onto the scene. They think, can I shoot over like a Shamira Sterling? Can I shoot over like a Jiva Mentor last year?
But you were like that as well. Have you helped her with that? Because you were always like that. You never shied away from it, Joey.
Yeah, I think I probably helped in a way, especially with the super shot now. Nothing gives me greater pleasure than I get a contact call and I put the ball down for either Sophie or Matisse and see them like swish a ball through from 3 meters away. Like, I think that's amazing, and that's the stuff that builds the confidence for a young kid coming on the international scene, I guess. But yeah, I love playing with Soph. Like, she's so super determined. Like, she doesn't often like raise her voice or kind of step outside of her box. But she wants the ball every single time, which is what I love in her game.
How you talk about players probably leads me into my final question then about the coaching, because as we both know, we've played with a lot of people. Not every great player makes a great coach, right? how much are you enjoying being given that opportunity coaching, and is this a long term? I mean, I have to ask the question, are you going to be England coach one day? Because that's all I keep hearing, and everyone's absolutely buzzing about what Jo Harten can do off the court as well. But I mean, is it something you're even thinking about long term? And I don't expect you to answer that, but I mean, long term, is it something you're going to give back? Because netball takes a lot of your life, and coaching. I read one of your Instagram posts after Netball World Cup, because you were behind the scenes with the team, and you're like, there's a lot of hard work going on. And I also know in that group there's a lot of meetings. So is it on the horizon?
I mean, I guess the short answer is I don't know. Like the experience and the opportunity I had at the World Cup to kind of be a part of the coaching staff and coaching team, it was pretty amazing, especially having only just retired. And then my next kind of piece with England was, you know, from playing in January to coaching at a World Cup in August. So, but it was so tiring. Like I've never been as tired as I was coaching at the World Cup. Like the analysis, obviously, like, you know, the analysis you have to do, and then trying to like translate that to a group of experienced players. I was like, I don't even know what I'm saying. Like I'm so exhausted, but it was so fun. Like when we beat Australia at the World Cup, it felt like we had collectively as a coaching unit tried to break down their game plan, and then deliver that to, you know, obviously our team, and then the team implemented that on court. And I got such a kick out of that, which I've never had from actually just, you know, scoring a goal on the court, versus, I guess, coaching, you know, the young, inexperienced England side in New Zealand. Like, I think that first game we played against them just showed the power of like competitive spirit and belief, which if I were to coach in the future, that's what I would want to try and bottle. It's not necessarily about being the most skillful and most experienced, but if you've got an innate ability to just want to win, like just want to win, and those England kids, all they wanted to do in that tour was win, and it was great to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I think speaking from experience playing with you guys, you were the first generation that came in and actually believed you were going to beat the top nations. I was the generation before who thought we could, but you know, we did it so sporadically, it just was never a thing. And you guys certainly changed that. I like to end on we usually do a little fun thing about netball positions, but actually the SSM bio describes you as one of the few imports that have changed their game. And I thought, what an amazing accolade to have. So I'm just intrigued, sort of sum it up, how has Australia changed your game?
Oh, like it's made me question the little things that I do on court, in a really positive way. It's made me respect almost like the English style as well, like to be part of we used to call it like a factory conveyor belt, the Aussies, you know, like if one got injured, someone just as physically dominant, someone just as mentally strong would come in and replace them. But in England, we didn't have that. So I guess being an import over here and being a part of a kind of a changing of the guard, in a sense that we can beat Australia, you know, we can beat New Zealand, Jamaica. It feels really special, but I think it's down to some imports putting, you know, like yourself and Jiva in 08, going out to the ANZ and putting your hand up, moving away to the other side of the world, being uncomfortable, but actually learning from the best, being humble to say, you know what, Australia, you are the best in the world. We're going to come and learn from you. We'll play with you. But ultimately, we still want to beat you.
Yeah, that'd be nice. We still want to beat you. Well, listen, Jo, we cannot wait to see you back on court this year. I know how hard you've had to work to do that. So we're looking forward to seeing Giants play this year. And look, if you find that bottle that you're talking about and you can bottle that competitive grit, whatever it is, sell it. Because honestly, you'll be a multimillionaire and you'll never have to coach again. But yeah, listen, good luck and thanks so much.
Thanks, T.